Welcome to Embracing Infinity, exploring the infinite oneness in the space of love and truth. Host Jennifer Rose is an international spiritual medium, healer, channeler, mentor, and transformational guide. Her focus is encouraging individuals to know themselves within the lens of their divine heart and highest potential, to evolve within the frequency of love and peaceful harmony. Now, here's your host, Jennifer Rose.
Welcome, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Embracing Infinity. I'm Jennifer Rose, and so happy to be joining you all here today, this fine morning, afternoon, and evening. I hope you all are doing well. I see our lovely friends are starting to join us, so welcome, everybody. I'm so excited today because we've got medium Paul Bannister coming on our show, and we're going to have a really fun discussion today that I think will be really helpful for our spiritual growth development as well. And a couple of quick announcements. Next Friday, we'll be having medium Alice Trevorrow on to Embracing Infinity. I'm excited to welcome her next Friday. Later today at 3 p.m. Pacific, which is 11 p.m. UK, Kelly will be back here on the numerology hour. So please take a quick break and come back and see Kelly then. That would be really, really wonderful. And Miss Debbie Romero, of course, will be coming on next Wednesday for her shows. So I want to say hi to, let's see, Jennifer McCormick's on. Hi, Jennifer. And Stacya's here. Hello, Stacia. Miss Fran is here. Hello. Sunshine Girl. Hello, hello. And Donna Jackson's here. So welcome, everybody. So happy that you're all popping on. Thank you all for your lovely messages. I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes before we bring Paul on, because I know we have exciting things we want to discuss. And so I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that too. But I wanted to build up a little bit on what we've been discussing the last few weeks, which you all know I like to do for those people who follow me. And I'm going to read something that popped up in my memories, which kind of builds on what we were talking about the last couple of times, which is, you know, wanting to, what I want to say is like pursue enlightenment. And what does that mean for the after? What are our expectations? Why is that something we might be chasing? And then delving into a little bit deep dive within the self last week about what do we really want out of life? Why do we want it? What are our internal fears? So that really like internal knowing thyself process so that we can keep moving forward in our growth and our internal development, which enhances, of course, that higher consciousness. So I'm going to read this that popped up in my memories, and it's significant because I was just asking Spirit the question really about this transcendence into enlightenment, or to be able to go beyond duality, which is this framework that we live in, this reality that we live in, which is very dualistic, the light and the dark and everything in between. Is it even really possible? Because it seems like something out there that we try to go reach. And there's a lot of different ways that people try to reach that, through meditation, through a spiritual awakening, especially Kundalini awakenings, through pursuit of relationships and things like that. So this is what popped up to me, and it was quite lovely because I channeled this a year ago from Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. And so I'm just going to read that to you. One of the greatest gifts of humanity is the ability to demonstrate empathy and compassion. The ones who can hold another's fragile heart and emotional experience like a precious and beautiful baby bird are in touch with love in its highest expression, beyond duality. It is when God is letting us glimpse the golden truth through a maze of illusions. We are more one than one. We need each other. We can only evolve together. Another's suffering is our suffering. Another's joy is our joy. Another's enslavement is our enslavement. Another's freedom is our freedom. We share this experience together. No amount of protection tools can change that. Everything and everyone is connected. Without our emotions and experience, we are nothing but robots. We are all like lights of a beautiful and magnificent rainbow. When we can see our own light, when we can see each other's lights, we get a glimpse of the whole rainbow in ourselves and each other. Those are transcendent moments. They are gifts. Know you are love and remind someone else they are love. And a simple hug can do just that. So thank you for listening to that. I also want to welcome, looks like Ava and Trish has come on. Jack has come on. Hello, hello. And thank you for listening to that, because from somebody through my spiritual awakening and transformation as you know, been able to get to a certain point to where I understand reality in a certain kind of way. Yet at the same time, I'm here and I'm in this one and trying to make it the best that I can, and trying to do my part to be the best that I can in this world. And part of that is helping to remind people that they are spirit and helping people to live their best life. And we all do this together through inspiring each other, through holding each other, through taking good care of each other, through love, through love. And so, yes, we can. And we've done it all the time. Every time we look at somebody with unconditional loving eyes, look beyond, you know, the different facets of personality and all of that, and can just hold someone and just look at them in their divine perfection and beauty. Every time we reach out to help somebody in some way and hold somebody, whether small or large, it doesn't matter. Those are the moments where you are reaching beyond duality. It is that highest expression of love. And so if we're thinking we have to do all of this to get there because we want to escape, say, the pain of living here, or we want to experience something that looks so grand, that must be so amazing and awesome to experience and feel, we are already doing it every time we have one of those, you know, God moments. I use that word. You can please interchange it with source, creator, the eternal, the divine, whatever you wish. But are those moments? They're precious. They're precious. And I think that it's that love I feel, I know beyond reasonable doubt that those loving moments where we hold each other like that with no judgment, that's when we're making it. That's when we're collapsing duality, going beyond duality. And there's nothing wrong with keeping moving forward to have additional experiences, which will keep expanding the consciousness and the mind, which is a beautiful thing. But in turn, the heart continues to grow, and we will have more experiences that come in. Not all of them will be easy, but in that experience, the heart will continue to grow. I believe Mother Teresa, I don't have the exact quote on me, but she said something like, this the paradox of the heart is that the more it may be hurt or broken, the more love it continues to hold. There can only be more love. And that is really the nature, the question, the paradox, the oh my goodness of life that gives us that awe and that wonder of living, of who we are, of what we are a part of, that magnificence, that which goes beyond our understanding. So, um, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, because I know all of you, I feel all of you, and I love all of you. Yes. And I'm really, really happy to be here with you today. So I'm very happy and joyful and grateful just to be in this moment with you right now. So, with that, I'm so excited to have my good friend and medium Paul Bannister coming on the show here with us today. Please, let's welcome him in and bring him on. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Paul.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for inviting me, Jennifer. It's good to be here.
Thank you for being here too. I know it's been a little while, but so
Yeah.
happy to have you here. Our show is a little bit new, and I just want to thank you for being a part of it too. I know you've extended that invitation to me in the past, so I'm happy to bring it full circle.
Yeah, a few more grey hairs though, and a few wrinkles, but I'm still here.
Well, that's all right. That's called life, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Keep the laughter lines going. That so I keep smiling. They
And
don't look bad. Absolutely.
well, they just so that we've lived and loved and smiled. So I think that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, we've got even more friends joining us. Krish has just come on too as well, and everybody here over in the comments are welcoming you. Neil Payne has come on as well too. Hi, Neil. Hello, hello.
Hi Neil, good to
Everybody's
see
saying
you.
hello to you.
And Krish, hi Krish, and people that I recognise, and Stacia, and we've got lots of people on here. It's good to see you on Friday night. Where else would you want to be, guys?
Exactly. Well, thank you. That's so kind of you. So, Paul, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I know you'll do a better job of it than myself. So, if you could just please let our viewers and listeners and guests and friends here know a little bit more that they may not already know. We already know you're a great, fabulous medium, but there's so much more.
I really struggle. I really struggle with introducing myself, because I'm just Paul. And when we use the word medium, I always feel that it kind of puts me in the box. I'm just Paul having this existence, and my mediumship, or my ability to do mediumship, is an extension of me. And I truly believe that we can all do this. We're all natural mediums. So I always struggle to kind of put myself in that box. Yes, I'm a medium. I mean, I do other things. But yeah, I've been working in this way for over 20 years, which is not always full time and not always in the public. There was a lot of time when I was developing and growing, if you like, for want of a better word, but also my younger days as well. I had a lot of experiences with phenomenon is the better word rather than mediumship, experiencing phenomenon. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty exciting. You know, I love phenomenon.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Would you be interested in sharing a little bit about this phenomenon, which I'm guessing
Uh,
puts you on a bit of a quest to understand more, as it
yeah.
did for
So
me?
so my next door neighbor as a child was a physical medium and a trance medium, and
Wow.
and they used to sit in circle. And I remember the dogs outside. There was a lovely boxer dog that my neighbor had, that every time these people sat in circle, it used to howl outside with the power and energy of spirit coming through.
Wow.
And growing up in that environment, myself and the medium's son was my best friend, so we had lots of experiences together. Not always positive, because we are programmed to fear what we don't understand. So it wasn't always a positive experience growing up with those experiences.
Yeah, that is very true. I think that is, one of the beauties of being who we are, because the work that we get to do is so sacred, and very special. But we do have an opportunity to help work on some of those fears with people to hopefully give them a better understanding, a softer and more loving understanding of spirit worlds. We have an opportunity, so we can do great work as mediums, to help educate people, help them understand themselves better and understand spirit world. And we could do the opposite too. So I know with yourself and myself, we always try to do the first one. We try to help them dispel some of these fears, because there can be very different explanations from what people think it is. But
Absolutely.
fears can teach us things if we're willing to actually look a little bit deeper and through the lines and the layers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It all comes down to love. And I loved your channeling that you brought through earlier. That was lovely. That was lovely. It reminds me of a question that I asked my guides once. What is it all about? It was one of those days, Jennifer, what is it all about? And do you know what I got? One word. Well, love. It's all about love. And I'm like, is that it? It doesn't sound very profound, but actually,
I know.
well, when you think about it, when you think of all the layers and all the relationships and all the different types of love that we have, and pain on top of that is another level of growth through love. So
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, I'm starting to
It
listen.
is the endless spiral and the infinite loop that we keep going on, and we always end back at the same place. We always end back up home, which is love, right? And what
Absolutely.
we can go on these big, expansive, quests for knowledge,
Yeah.
and every experience we have will take us in circles and spirals and through that loop, and we just keep coming back to the same place. But it's always more. It's always like, now we know more about love. Now we
Yeah.
understand more about love. We've gone into a deeper awareness and understanding of that. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Now I know we had a little chat beforehand of what we might want to discuss, and I could say again, you've been on this quest, this quest of understanding, as I have, and so we were talking about the basically the existence, these existential questions we have about how we got here, and delving into a little bit of all of the new science that's come forth that has basically made the old science not really very valid anymore, and how that is coming to play and helping to, what I would say, sort of bridge the gap. And then how can that play into our lives to make our lives better?
Well, we're in very interesting times, aren't we? We're in very
Hmm.
interesting times. I mean, 2005, Professor Dorking, he published this book, The God Delusion, and he talked about life just being a random possibilities that we just happen to be here. It upset every Christian from here to the other side of the world and beyond, taking God completely out of the equation and saying God actually was more, when you think of all the wars over Christianity and belief systems, etc. But it's not true. We all know it's not true. I mean, it's easy for us to sit here with the experiences that we've had connecting to a divine or a divine source, however people at home feel that energy, that divine connection, we know there's more to it. Now, science recently has made some really important discoveries that's come, I don't want to say kind of come full circle, but it really has. It's really starting to find a design, a creator within that design, a design of life. Even the Big Bang theory is now at question. And you think of the book, the Darwinian book, is it The Evolution of Species?
Yeah.
That's now been completely undermined, and I don't mean in a negative way. There's just not any evidence for Darwin's theory of evolution. There's large gaps, and these guys have, they've been out there, scientists have been out there, archaeologists have been out there, they've all been out there looking for evolutionary signs, and unfortunately there isn't much. So then it begs the question, especially when it comes to certain animals, where did they just turned up? Apparently they just turned up at a certain time. So I don't want to go down into the scriptures, but there's always some truth in what we read. There's always some truth in that. But I'd really be interested to see what the guys at home think about that.
Yeah, yeah, it is really quite fascinating, because what we learned in grade school back in the day is kind of like, there's just, it just doesn't work anymore. It's just
Well,
like none of that is correct.
they are still teaching it, and the universities have been really slow to catch up. And there's a scientist actually in America, Professor Stephen C. Meyer. He's been, although he admits he is a Christian, but he's a scientist first. And he would admit, he's often said in interviews that he would admit if he was wrong, that if they find something that God is taking out of that equation, he would be the first one to put his hand up. But
Yeah,
then
yeah,
science was a process. I mean, at the schools of science and the scientific academies were created back in the 11th and 12th century. But then, of course, a lot of people's philosophy was around finding God, to prove God. Whereas today, science seems to have the approach where it wants to, well, you're either in the religion camp, or you're believe in God, have faith, or you're just in the science. You can't be in both, which is completely wrong, in my opinion.
yeah.
In my opinion.
No, I know, I agree with you, and I know I mean, even into spiritualism, there's a lot of cyclical research involved. So there's a lot of proof and
Oh,
investigation into phenomena that happens too. And then, like, here in the States, we have the Center for Spiritual Livings, which used to be called Science of Mind, not to be confused with the other one. Sorry, the other one. I can't remember the name. But it was all about that science and religion can go together, that science and spirituality can go together as well, too. And I liked a lot of things that he said, too, because there were two things, one scientific and one more just heart-centered, and one about like how if we know there's a definite beginning of this universe, which is space, time, matter, and energy, then what came before, right?
Absolutely.
And so this is where we go into the infinity and beyond, that before energy, before space, time, before matter, something had to design that, something, someone, some force, some that, right? And us as mediums, yes, Scientology, not to be confused with Scientology. Thank you, Fran. So that's quite fascinating to me, because that kind of matched up to what I've gotten in my channeling and my own experience with spirit, is that there's more. There's beyond that, and we are all part of it, and we can find that within us in those special moments. And then the other part that he brought was talking about grief, and how grief brings forth those questions, those existential questions, those two things.
You're talking about that interview with Piers Morgan. Professor Stephen Meyer. Guys, if you get a chance, check out Piers Morgan's interview, which you kind of wouldn't expect Piers to go there. He's quite controversial at times, and he likes to kind of provoke people to get information. But he had the opportunity to interview Stephen Meyer. And it was a beautiful interview, because Stephen is very, very much a scientist, like he says first. But then he goes into a very real and personal experience, which made me really emotional when I heard that, because I've listened to a lot of Stephen's lectures and a lot of his study. There's a great interview, actually, the Hoover Institute on YouTube, which is an American institution, which was created online due to COVID. But there's some great lectures on there, guys. But there's one on there called Intelligent Design. Have a look at that one. Is there evidence for intelligent design? And there's a I'm not going to spoil it for you. There's a discovery within the human cell that has blown the science community away. So check that out if you get the opportunity.
I did see a little bit of that too, that it's way, way more complex than we ever realized. And it basically looks like it's, like there's a computer program within the cell itself. And then the question becomes, who's the programmer, right?
Who's the programmer?
And that's kind of a scientific way of looking at it. That doesn't sound so spiritual, but it definitely gets the mind, going to interesting. This we could go into like Dolores Cannon, who did all of that past life stuff and everything she did, where she really goes into the mind bending questions of, these kinds of things too. But it reminded me also of, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the movie Wrinkle in Time. There's an old version and there's a new version with Oprah Winfrey. And it's about kind of like, it's interesting because the protagonist is a female and she wants to go find her father, who's kind of disappeared going through some kind of time machine. And then the guides come in form and help to, I've dropped my glasses twice now, goodness. The guides come in form to take her and her little brother, who is, you could say, is a medium, and another character, and they all go through a wrinkle in time, kind of like a wormhole type of thing, to get through so that they can go and rescue dad, right? And but which of course, they went. So it's a beautiful movie, it's a beautiful book, it's a children's story. But the author of that wrote another book that went into the organs in the body, or the cells in the body, and basically described them like they were conscious universes within yourself, right? And I know that is something that's been brought up before too, is that, so when you're talking about the cell, like this computer program, you can also think of it, we've got universes inside of us, like really go down into the organs, the cells, the blood, the DNA, and the complexity of that, and the perfection of design is amazing.
And it's been proven now as well that the human cell responds to our thoughts, feelings, and ideas. And it reminds me of what Gandhi said about making sure we check our thoughts daily, because our thoughts and our ideas become our deeds and our actions. And our body responds to that. I started off on this path. I did a spiritual healing course for about 3 years. It was the best thing I did. It helped me to understand some of the simple foundations of how connecting to spirit, how spirit are all around us. And for me, it was quite interesting when it was discovered recently. I mean, you look at arthritis. Arthritis is connected. Actually, there's a great book called The Hands of Light, which I've got here. Sorry, I've got piles of stuff everywhere, books everywhere. It looks tidy, guys, but it's all out of show. Barbara Brannan, Hands of Light. That's a great book. There's a lot of correlation between what I mean. I know there's other authors out there, and sorry to plug that one. I've got no affiliation with that. I've just found it 20 years ago. That was a great book for me. And I reread it recently. There were some things, and it's nice to catch up with things. But I always remember doing some healing around 2010, and I had this most beautiful experience that I saw what I called them the shining ones. And it's in this book as well. I read back on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're in here. So that was quite a nice experience to kind of have that validated. But again, it's interesting how certain things, matters of the heart literally manifest within the heart. And it's such, but science and medicine, I'm sorry guys if you're a doctor, but medicine is a little bit behind. They look at how to solve a problem rather than a very logical way, rather than looking for a more holistic approach. I mean, again, I'm not plugging Gaia, but there's a lot of great stuff on Gaia. Check that out, guys. There's a lot of scientists on there that are beyond normal conventional scientists that are talking about this stuff. So it's really
my favorite word. Beyond.
But it's so empowering, Jennifer, because I'm not being funny. I've had I don't want to say it's a near-death experience, but I had an experience where I could have been very poorly, and that would have been life-changing for the rest of my life. But I'm here. And I still think having that kind of experience made me grateful for what I have. Now, it's very hard to, I don't want to talk about mental health, but it's really interesting how we can get ourselves, and even now, sometimes I still get myself in a dark place, in a low place. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. And I just think, I don't know. I'm born. I'm breathing. I wake up and feel the sun on my face, and just look at the beauty around us. But we get caught up within left brain thinking, and we start to worry about, I've got to take the dog for the walk, got to do this, got to pay the bills. And it just brings our vibration and energy down. I think Krish made a good point. Hi, Krish. I think she said water and light. That's what we are. We're made up of water and light. Absolutely. Krish, sending you lots of love, by the way. It's good to see you on here. Yes, sound and light, absolutely, vibration as well. It's a beautiful thing. And I heard this week, it reminded me of a book that I read a long time ago. Was it Moto, the scientist in Japan, who froze the water with the dishes and put the different words on it, love and hate? Check that out, guys, because that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, it changed the sort of the molecular structure of the water and how they looked when you put them under a microscope there too.
Jennifer, how does the water know the word? How does it understand the word? The word has a vibration. It must have a vibration for that.
It does.
For that water to resonate and feel that. Because no one has told the water that hate means this, that, and the other. It's negative, but the water, it just is. Again, there's signs of intelligence everywhere.
Yeah, but there's intent when we put that word on there. There's intent to infuse the water with the meaning or the energy or the expression behind that word too, as well too. But it reminds us to also be kind to ourselves and each other too. And we can make hopefully better choices on that too. So for our own bodies, since we are water, like Chris was saying too. we are made of what, 98% or something. I don't know, a huge amount of water that
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
made of too.
yeah.
That we want to be kind to our bodies, take good care of, see them as, holy vessels or temples to be taken care of. And I know sometimes, I think I've spoken about this before, sometimes as spiritual beings, we like to focus on our spirit and not on our physical self, almost as if we're
Yeah,
trapped in this body and this body's a bad thing. But we really do need to take care of it so that we can live our best life here, because
yeah,
we're human and we're spirit too. So and then think about how thank you, Kelly, for putting that up there,
yeah,
how we treat each other. And we can we're all going to have negative thoughts. That's just part of being human, and it's part of us sort of working things out, working our different experiences out, and seeing things from different perspectives and perceptions. As long as we can kind of come back to love, because as soon as we can come back into love, then the rest will get healed. And kind of do you know what I'm saying? Like reworked, like
okay,
reprogrammed in a
okay.
way. Yeah.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Ooh, yes.
Okay, so okay,
Hi, Debbie.
so it's okay for us because we feel the presence of the spirit. We feel
Mhm.
I've been touched in moments in my life. I'm not saying every day I wake up and I feel this divine presence. I've had significant moments in my life where I believe I've experienced a divine creator within my heart, within my experience. Now, the majority of people go through life having very negative and challenging experiences. How do we encourage people to get that message across, that divine nature that we are aware of is within us all? How, and I believe you mentioned it in your channeling, but how do we bring everybody in? And again, you said that within your channeling. How do we then, I remember spiritual channeling from a lady many years ago that used to talk about this. Doesn't matter who we are a collective, and we have to wait till the lowest soul joins us all, so we're all at the same level. Now, I used to think, well, what about the robber who just killed someone? We got to wait for this guy, the guy that's on death row, the guy that, or the woman that's done this, that, and the, how do we then? How do we? I almost said transcend. Debbie, you're listening. Maybe it's because I saw you coming up, Debbie. Or transcend with Debbie. So, Debbie, we need more of you. If we can clone you a few times, we can get the love out there. All right. But I do feel. How do we open the door to somebody that's closed off? How can we help? You hear people saying, yeah, go and do good deeds. Yep, great. No problem with that. But what is it that we can do to help each other to grow? That's a difficult one. That's open to everyone, by the way, that's listening. Not just I just put you right on the spot, Jennifer. It's a big one.
Yeah, no. And this is very interesting because I have a quote for that from Harold Kushner. Everything that God created is potentially holy, and our task as humans is to find that holiness in seemingly unholy situations. When we can do this, we'll have learned to nurture our souls.
That's beautiful.
And there are things that maybe be beyond our comprehension, but every time we set that intent to grow in love and to connect to each other, when we see ourselves as separate, the more we see ourselves as separate, the more of that we're going to see is that those constant extremes in duality. The more we understand that we're connected to everything, and that suffering is our suffering, that enslavement is our enslavement, so is that joy, so is that love, so is that compassion. We're connected to it. It's all part of us. So we are no better, no worse, than everybody else, but everybody's having a different experience. That doesn't mean that we say, okay, those horrific things that people do are right. They're not. Right. So we'll go in circles talking about this too.
Oh,
But
wow.
how can we see the holy and the unholy? Well, that's a job that God does, right? But we're here talking about how we can bring the God within us and still find that. And I think that is the trick in transcending, is being able to find that most intense, compassionate love, even for the worst of the worst. And there we go, ascending, because whatever gets destroyed will always get built back better.
I love what
you got me on a roll.
Beautiful. But Marion's put something absolutely true. Be the
Yeah.
example you want to be.
Yes.
I
Yes.
want to see. Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Donna's put, try to forgive them. That's quite interesting because the forgiveness is a whole nother level, isn't it? A whole nother level. You know, the part of the human psyche, if you like, because we are ingrained with fight or flight. When we meet someone, we can't but help. We straight away we assess: are they danger, are they trouble, or can we stay? Do we run or do we stay? You
Right.
know, that fight or flight mechanism that we have. And once we come out of that, we don't, I believe, when we step into love, that we stop doing that. But forgiveness is a massive thing that is really underestimated. It really is.
Yeah, very, very true. And we can ask for help with that. We can ask the divine for help. We can light candles. We can say prayers. We can ask friends to do it for us when we're not able to do
Yeah.
it. We can do it in stages, a little bit at a time. It doesn't have to be all at once. And I think it can actually cause people more trauma to expect them to do it when they're not ready because they've got to work through the grief of what's happened. And their nervous systems have to heal too, because you just talked about fight, flight. That is our nervous system, and we're all very sensitive here. So these nervous systems have to calm down. We have to heal. We have to get into that parasympathetic response so we can go into the healing and can allow the higher awareness and the grace of God and spirit to come in and help us with that too. And we don't have to do it all alone.
It's interesting. Some of the guys are going down very interesting paths.
Yeah.
Sunshine Girl, you can forgive, but it's important to love yourself too. Sometimes people do things that absolutely shouldn't ever or be allowed ever
Right.
again. I
Mhm.
totally agree.
Very true. Very
And
true.
some of the dark and things that go on in this world. But then, have you guys heard of soul planning? I know there's a gentleman in California, I believe he's based. Mark
Mhm.
Schwartz, is it Mark Schwartz? I might have got the name wrong. Who started talking about soul planning about 10 or 15 years ago, and he's got a book produced on soul planning. And it's interesting because I've met people that have come for reading here that remembers choosing their parents as part of their soul plan because of the lessons they wanted to learn.
Mhm.
So
Right.
I've done a lot of thinking around this because you think about your soul's journey and what your soul wants to achieve and learn and to grow, like we talked about growing as people, as souls. What if we are the murderer? We said over there, like, I'll be the murderer, I'll be persecuted for the murdering you so you can experience being
Yeah.
murdered. And this is where it's really like the whole judgment thing we have to be careful of. So we don't know someone's plan. I mean, I'm not saying that we should, I still think we should play the human part where we're, you know, it's abhorrent, when someone gets murdered, it's appalling.
Yeah.
That's still a part of the human experience, and we shouldn't put that down. We can't just say, well, he shot someone, that's okay, it's part of his soul plan. You can't do that. But it's an interesting
Right.
concept, in itself.
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
imagine?
it's very true. Mhm.
Some of
Yeah.
the dictators of the world that have gone before, they're the ones, some of the most hated people in humanity, and there they are, but they're the ones that have put themselves forward for that.
Right.
Who knows? Who knows?
No,
Who
I
knows?
know it. Shakespeare said all life is a stage and we are actors upon it. And then you go into the work of archetypes too. Someone's got to play the villain if you're going to be the hero in your life, right?
Yeah,
And I see
yeah,
I see people play all different roles. I have one, personal friend whose relative is a villain for her, a victim from somebody else, and a hero to somebody else. He's all three of those things
yeah,
in that
yeah,
family structure too, right?
yeah, yeah.
And we like to be healers. We want to give and be of service, but then we need somebody to be healed, right? We need somebody that needs healing. So it's like then we start to get into these, more difficult questions about the why and the how that we do things too. So I know
The
with
book,
past life work too, there's a gentleman who did who had a near death experience.
yeah.
His wife and child were killed in a car accident. And in his near death experience, he met his wife and he's like, why, and she's like, I gave you this experience. It was like a gift that I gave you. So the soul was, she gave him that experience. And
Wow.
then he, I can't remember his name. Somebody here may know his name. But he's big in the NDE community and then, came on to be a speaker for the NDE community after that too, to help them understand the why of, I mean, because he almost died himself. He was horrifically injured, and then his wife and child. You just can't even imagine these things,
No,
right?
no, you can't imagine wanting
But
to live after that experience.
right. So, but we have to hold these things in a container of compassion too, because some people may be in a state of mind where we can talk about these things and they can understand it and take it in. But some people may be going through trauma. It's the last thing that they need to hear right now. They just need to know, we love you. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm here for you now, and hold them that way too.
Yeah, Krish, I totally agree
Yeah.
about the 6 Million Jews, and Krish has also put on there, watch The
Yes.
Shack. It's a brilliant movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen The Shack, Paul?
No, ashamedly no, but I
Okay.
will do. I will watch it.
It's a bit difficult to watch if you're a parent, because there's a family that loses a child
Oh,
in a really bad way, but he does have a mystical experience with uh, God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and then he also comes into a cave and meets with, I believe, judgment, right? The spirit of judgment. Is that right, Krish? And sees that the person who abused him was abused by that person. So it's like, when do you start and stop the judging? Because we
yeah.
just don't know everything. We don't know what happened to that person before they committed the act that they did. Were they abused? What happened to them? Were they mentally ill? Were they on drugs? These kinds of things. We don't know the whole story of anything. There's so much that we don't know, and that's where we just kind of take a little space back and send love.
So
And send
that's
love and
right.
do our part to make it better.
But then is that a
Yeah,
part of the human experience that we don't judge? There's a lot about
yeah,
judgment and not judging.
yeah,
Marin's put a good one.
yeah.
Person I feel who gave me my hardest lessons also gave me the biggest chance to grow. I now thank them for the experience and love overcome now in spirit. Old habits die hard, by the way. I shouldn't be doing this. This should be you.
No,
I'm so sorry,
it's all
guys.
right.
I'm so used to being the interviewer rather
I
than the
know, right? It's all good. No, but she's absolutely right, and that's that is the other side of things, right? That we realize that sometimes the people who have hurt us sometimes taught us the
yeah,
most. The darkness can be our biggest teachers. That's why fear can be your biggest teacher. It's a tricky one, I say.
yeah,
That
yeah.
one, because it could disguise itself as a lot of things which seem to make sense, but then it's tricking you in the long run too. But it's teaching you. I learned that in the very beginning when I started going through dark night of the soul. Wow, this darkness is my biggest teacher. It's like that bad coach that will never give you a break, but they push you beyond your limits to what you ever thought possible. Thank you for sharing that, Marian. And we're so lucky when we get to that point to where we can um, hold that space for ourselves and realize that as difficult as it was, we can hold the space in honor and sacredness, and also see that it helps to make us grow as well, and what we've learned from that too.
Yeah.
So thank you everybody for your comments, and so nice to have all of you here today. We've gotten very deep so far. um, I would love to, as I'm feeling guided by spirit, to as we're talking about these big existential questions, these big whys and things like that, how can we use it in a more, what I want to say is direct, immersed way for ourselves? Like, how has this changed you, for instance? How have you come to change? How have you come to grow? How does this make you live your life differently as you take in all of these thoughts and ideas into your consciousness? And how can
Well,
we all do that as well?
life always comes down to the individual experience, and I've been
Yeah.
blessed in my life. I've had some difficult choices, and I like to think I've made some good choices, but I know I've also made some bad choices, and I think it's recognizing the good and bad and understanding that growth comes from that. I think the biggest lesson in life, not just for me, but I believe for humanity, the biggest lesson that we can learn is loss. But and having faith that we will meet again, having this, not, I mean, it's easy for us. We've got this knowledge that the soul exists on another level, that we don't just die, and the soul is everlasting, and we'll meet our loved ones again. But for a lot of people that I see that come to see me, they're devastated. They've gone to the depths of their existence. And forgive me for saying this, guys, live on air, but there was a young man who took his own life. And 4 months later, mum couldn't live without him. He was an only child. She took her own life. So I know I'm not related or have anything to do with them, but the pain, you can feel the pain from that experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somewhere in that loss and that pain is growth. And it's the way that we grow from that pain, the lessons that we take from that, I believe help us grow. I don't think there's any hard or fast, easy route. I do think it's a part of the process of us coming back and back again. But I do think when I look at my life and my experience, life is just a series of memories. And it's taken me all this time, the ripe old age that I am, with more grey hairs, that every moment should count. And the people that we love, we should make a point that they know that we love them. And sometimes, yes, it's about leaving a legacy, but it's not. It's about your experience as well. And like you said at the beginning of the show, know thyself is really important, because you can change your future by being present in the moment. And I don't want to go into quantum physics, because I don't know much about quantum physics at all. I know there's a particle and there's a wave, and I believe the wave is the thought and the particle is the manifestation. So, but if you could switch it round, you can change your reality in terms of being like what Gandhi used to talk about, being positive, keeping our thoughts, and Jesus to some extent. And I don't know if whether people believe Jesus was here or not, but some of the scriptures, and I'm not particularly religious, but I found from the Bible that there's some interesting ideas within the scriptures and some truth. But it's interesting about keeping your thoughts in balance, and that's the secret. Life is a balance, but it's also about experience. We chose to come here to have the emotions which make our human experience very well, I say set aside, but then if we believe the scriptures, we are in God's form, or the Son of God. We are a part of that. So I know I'm going far too down the line. I'm going to dig myself into a big hole, but I think we have to be present. We have to be in the moment. We have to understand who we are and where we are, and we have to try and remember that. And because there is also a karmic responsibility and all that. And I find it quite interesting when people have this idea of an eye for an eye and all this kind of thing within karma, but it doesn't really work that way. It doesn't really work that way, and that's a big conversation for another time. But
we could unpack a whole lot out of just that. I know
there's a lot of gurus out there, and talking about karma. There's a lovely, and I can't think of her name at the moment. There's a beautiful soul lady in India, and she has thousands of people that come to listen to her talking about life, karma, and they just worship the ground that she walks on. And she was talking about different types of karma. Like instant karma is like holding a door open for someone, and then there's long-term karma. When you plant the tree, you won't see that tree grow to its full potential, but you've planted it for someone else to experience. And it's interesting when we start to feel that way, when we start to take notice of what we put into our children, what we tell our children, and what we tell what people around us that love us. So it is life, hey, life. Yeah.
For sure.
Some great comments coming up.
Yeah, beautiful. I know Jennifer is saying her spirituality has helped her to deal with her grief from the loss of her grandmother 17 years ago, and joining her spiritualist church, a journey with loss, love, and faith being tested. So it's very profound. We can feel, as you started talking about loss and grief and how it changes us, you can feel the shift in the atmosphere right now. Everything got very peaceful, very calm, very, very deep as well. We can all feel that. Hello, Miss Nadia. Speaking of, she was here with us last week and we were just talking about grief as well. So this is kind of, again, meeting full circle and how it changes us, and the opportunities, and what the professor was saying is, that grief brings us into the meaning of life and the existence and the heart opening that we have. And I think it could probably change the biggest non-believer, with those experiences, because they are in fact so profound. One of the things, that Kushner also says is that one of the basic needs of every human being is the need to be loved, to have our wishes and feelings taken seriously, to be validated as people that matter, or who matter too. And I know you brought up children as well, and
Yeah.
how we treat our children, how we treat each other, because there's a child inside of every adult too. So if we think about those things, we think about those things, how we treat each other, we
But
there's
there's
a lot
but
we can
there's
change the
two,
world.
there's two topics within that anyway, because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
child self, the inner child, needs to be nurtured as well.
right, exactly.
And I got ladies. I'm sorry, ladies. Some guys never grow up. Um, sometimes I'm a bit like that, but I just think, you know what? Hey, I'm gonna have some fun, and it's important to get into that space too in life. It's important with so many big questions and some of the topics that we talked about tonight, that we don't get so heavy in our heart that we start to
Yeah,
worry, are we doing the right thing? I think it's
yeah,
good to get into that inner child too.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I'm not sure. She said,
No
"Thanks for that,
surprise for us,
Sonia."
Paul. She
Yeah,
must know you well.
that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. That's quite funny. So, yeah.
That's too funny. Well, and those people who know me know I have a very childlike spirit that comes out too sometimes. I can get very goofy and quirky sometimes, but that's part of me, because I mean that is part of the spiritual awakening too. Is when they say you have to become like a child again. So when you rejuvenate that childlike spirit within you, which is all about the wonder and the magic and all of that, you bring forth, that's your joy that you're putting out into the world. And talk about putting in good frequency and vibration out of the world is into that joy, and giving other people permission to not have to be so serious and adulting all the time too. I know in my classes that I teach, Spirit's always giving us like inner child things, in disguise, little activities to do, and they bring such laughter and healing within our little groups too. So it's really important that that part of us, and because you know I would say probably all of us would say there's something we didn't get in our childhood that made life hard for us too, right? And
Yeah.
I think parenthood is getting better and better and better with time. We're getting a lot more aware of child development and things like that. So we're getting better with time, but we certainly have a long way to go. But
Yeah, absolutely.
that part of us needs to be healed and treated well too, instead of more stomping it down kind of thing, which the mind can do that sometimes. So we have to be kind to our mind and kind to our spirit too, and do things fun for yourself. Go get yourself a
Absolutely.
cookie, or fly a kite, or chase a ball, ride a bike, watch a silly movie, make yourself laugh, because laughter is a big healer. Yes. you know
Absolutely. So, but in terms of spiritual growth, though,
yeah,
one of the things that I've found that has helped me grow as well, because we kind of touched on this subject a little bit.
yeah,
We talked about karma. One of the things I became aware of in my 30s, which wasn't that long ago, in case you're wondering. Well, anyway, see, I've got
just
lots
did
of bad.
hop, skip, and a jump.
Anyway, okay, moving on quickly. I believe that a lot of us incarnate and we forget who we are or what we're here to do. Now, I know that's part of the process of learning and growing and developing, because if we all know where we've come from and going to go back to, I do believe people would go home early, so to speak. But oh, thanks, Krish. Yeah,
Yeah,
she just joined. Thank you for
you
that.
got a shout out there.
Thank you, Krish. Thank you. Love it. That's great. But what I want to say is, guys, what is it, if you're in a reflective mood, just sit in the silence, what is it you've experienced a lot of within your life? So, for example, for me, I've experienced a lot of difficult emotions around conflict. So those that know me know that I brought
Yeah.
my children up on my own. When after myself and my ex-wife got divorced, my daughter was 3.5. My son was 6 when they came to live with me. My son is 24, by the way. Still can't get rid of him. If you're listening, Adam. But no, all joking aside, I've had some really difficult issues around conflict, and I come across somebody who was very good at regression again in my 30s, and I quickly realized that a part of the plan of this life was to deal with aggression appropriately rather than lash out and get into a fight in a bar. I was to learn to grow through difficult circumstances, and it had to be in a loving way, and I found that so difficult. I am a typical
Yeah.
guy, and you know, when I've had some really difficult moments where things have felt very challenging, and I've had to grow, and but I still carry the pain of that sometimes, and I still, you know, I'll say something in my head. I'm like, I need to not carry that. I need to not carry, you know, seeing a child that for me was emotionally abused is quite a difficult thing. So, and then seeing that play out in their life is even harder. And the pattern repeats. So I always ask, what is it I need to learn here? Forgiveness of others, love the situation. It's also part of their soul journey because they chose to be with me. Not just my children. My children are doing very well, thanks. But and I've got a daughter as well as my son Adam. A lot of people know my son Adam, but I've got a daughter. I'm going to give her a shout. Hi, Charlie, if you're listening. And she's doing really well. Anyway, not just that, even in work, I found myself in challenging situations going into I worked for the local football club. Some people might know that. And we used to go into the community and teach football. I found myself in prison teaching convicts football. Now, football is a very
Wow.
conflict. There's a lot of conflict within football. There's a lot of physical touch. Well, these guys, where someone pushed someone, you know, there's going to be war break out. There's going to be a mass
Mhm.
fight. So there it was. I was the only guy. I had a little alarm on my belt that I pressed, and the guards come running. But pretty much there I was with about 30 people playing football. And it was like a tinderbox. So, but the way I had to create the scenario was give them ownership of the rules. And by giving them ownership and understanding that balance of trying to bring that harmony and balance, it was quite interesting, very interesting. So again, but I've got
Yeah.
so many stories on this, and it's not until I realized and I look back that yes, that conflict is something that I need to learn, understand, and grow with, and understand conflict. It's certainly part of my
Yeah.
soul's plan. Not the only thing, but certainly one of them. But it's good if you've got moments of time, just sit, reflect on one's life. Now, some people have painful experiences from childhood. What is the lesson? What is the lesson there? For
Yeah.
me, that has helped me grow. It really has.
To be able to get, because when we get into that quiet space, we can calm
Because
the
it's
nervous
like
system
coming
down
back.
to get into that space where we can ask the question too. Yeah,
Yeah, because
I
it comes back to what you said earlier, know thyself. And
yeah,
that's the whole
yeah,
point. Know thyself, who you are, where you've
I
been, where you've
know.
come from, and where you're going, where you're
Right,
going.
right. So that's
I
why we
think,
wanna keep working. We need to keep it never stops. We need to always keep working on
oh,
ourselves and growing within
yeah,
our self-awareness as
yeah.
well, and taking that time every day to keep doing that. And, conflict is very difficult because most people want to avoid it because it's so uncomfortable and painful. Hence, so many challenges in relationships, whether it be family dynamics, romantic partnerships, friendships, all these things like that. It's like people just don't have the skills, the basic tools to be able to do that, but we can go out and find them. There's plenty of good therapists out there, there's plenty of good communications experts, there's plenty of good books out there, but we have to be willing to actually like kind of do the work. But as I've said before, what we run from will chase us. So the problems will keep following us, the conflicts will keep following us one way or another. We can't just put them in the corner and hope that they're just going to go away and never come back.
But the thing is, though, Jennifer, we've got so many guys
Yeah,
out there that don't connect on that level. They won't go and get self-help. You know, I think the highest bracket for suicides in the UK is young men between 20 and 35. You know, because
yeah,
their masculinity, they don't want to say, I need help. They won't do
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And
now we're starting to kind of go into the divine masculine and feminine, and that's where we have to really kind of like make this effort because there's a lot of people out there who, help specifically men. So I'm glad we got on this topic too, because there are people out there who work specifically with men with whether they're a therapist or whether they're a coach, too, because, we all want to be loved. We're all sensitive. We just deal with things a little bit differently. You know what I mean? So we have to
yeah,
learn each other's language, but you're right. It's that step of being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to share things that are very deep, maybe with a therapist or a friend or a group that you may be in, and taking that chance. But if we don't do that, then you keep your heart in a cage, that's no
yeah,
way to live.
yeah.
That's no way to grow,
I'm just being attacked
So
by one of my eyelashes. Sorry about
well,
that.
thanks for I'm so happy that you brought that up too, because it's important. We have, mostly female viewers, here on today. We do have some men who have joined us as well too. But it helps us to hear what you have to say kind of from the male perspective too. I mean, just acknowledging that, we all have that room to grow too. So thank you for sharing that. Sunshine Girl says might be because men have different societal standards of vulnerability or the
Absolutely.
generations prior to us. In my 20s, and my friends and even me had a hard time asking for help. Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I
Yeah,
think it's difficult for men. They're less allowed to cry, less allowed to express that vulnerable emotion. We're more allowed to do that, but then we're not allowed to get mad. We're not allowed to kind of express our anger. So we internalize it too. And that's where the shadow work comes in, right?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, but guys don't even know what shadow work is. You know, and this is the problem. I mean, but how many, not just men, women too, that are not consciously conscious that there's different states of learning and different states of mind that we get ourselves into. A lot of us are going around being consciously unconscious of the world around them. I love
Yeah,
that concept, consciously unconscious of who they are, where they've come from, and where they're going. They're just in this
yeah,
state of survival mode where they eat, they sleep, they drink, they read, listen to music. Who are you? I don't want to get to the end of my life and have any regrets.
yeah, right. That's where courage comes in, right?
Yeah.
It's just it's
Yeah.
just it's just where courage comes in. Sunshine Girl says female rage is so strong. Yeah, that's a sacred rage, sacred anger. So
And
as women go into their defined feminine, they have to learn to move that energy through their system, but we have to learn to do it in a way that's productive and healthy versus in a way that's overly aggressive and harmful to people. And I think that's the same with men. We have to learn, it's the balance, like you say, it's the middle path, and we tend to go from one extreme to the other. We're very much a people pleaser for many years in our lives, so then we decide we don't want to care about anything or anybody. It's all about me now, right? But then we have to find that kind of middle path, because we all need human connection. We'll never stop needing that human connection and love and taking care of each other. Yeah.
I mean, the whole divine feminine and divine masculine, there's there's a backlash,
Yeah.
really, with young women today and where they see themselves in society. And I've always believed no one is better than the other. We need each other. There is harmony and balance, duality, yin
Yeah.
and yang. We could go all night, thinking of things that represent
Yeah.
that. But the point being, it is balance, but we have to respect each other. I kind of, yeah, I could be here all night talking about this one,
I
but
know, me too, me too. Well, we'll have to do this again, if you don't mind coming back on, and because I know
absolutely.
this again, very interesting for everybody that's been on here today. They've been really enjoying this discussion, and I just want to thank you all for participating and sharing, because it makes it that much more fun for all of us and more interesting for all of us. We have just a few minutes left, so is there any like last minute words you'd like to leave us with, or anything special that you're working on that you'd like everybody to know about?
I would, well, I mean, yeah, I've just created a company called Soul Light Events, and we have a big show coming up in Norwich on the 22nd of June. We've got 3 international mediums coming to Norwich, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, I've got demonstrations going off around the country this year. Really excited about getting out and meeting people. But do you know what? It comes down. I've discovered, like I was talking to my group, it's taken me 20 years to decide what to recognize. You know, a lot of mediums, they have this connection with their guides, and that's great. But it's taken me 20 odd years to realize that my relationship with spirituality should be with God. Well, and again, I know people don't like that word, but I use that word so we all understand who we're talking about, what we're talking about. But I've realized that for me, that's a kind of new path that I'm going on. I'm not saying that I'm going to become a minister. I just find that relationship that I have with God, my idea of God is really important. And that's something within me, that spiritual journey is starting to grow more within me on that aspect of things. And I think we all need to kind of look at that in terms of my motivation, why we do what we do, what we're here for. It's going to sound really funny to people at home. I ask God every day, am I doing the right thing? Do you want me to do this? And just to check to make sure that I am doing the right thing. Because when I get over there, I don't want to be judged. I don't want to be said, now look here, Bannister, come here. You've got it all wrong. I had you down for doing something else. You didn't listen. So I make sure I try to listen, and my mediumship seems to grow and grow. And I'm, again, there's got to be a level of humility within mediumship. It doesn't matter whether you're the most famous medium in the world. You must have a level of humility and of service, and service is the most important thing. That must be your motivation only.
Yeah, thank you for that too. I'll have to agree with you on that one too,
But if someone wants to buy me a boat, I don't mind, by the way.
Because we're human too, and we're supposed to actually enjoy living the human life as well.
I had a past life. I had 3 past lives in the British Navy, so I love boats.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy me a boat, feel free. Even if it's a dinghy, I'll be happy. Even an inflatable. Has anyone got an inflatable? Sorry,
I'm hearing songs about sailing, spirits putting all the sailing songs in my head, like the Christopher song and the come sail away with me, love, that one too. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm happy to agree with you too, because that's what happened for me through my own spiritual transformation was, I had a lovely relationship with guides, and then it just kind of merged into God. And so people are like, well, who do you channel? I'm like, love. I just channel love. But that's a stepping out of the box too, because people will say, who are you to say you talk to God? So you have to learn to the guy man, he would like it yet. There can't go wrong with that too. So yeah, I have to definitely agree with you on that one. And let's all be good to each other. Let's drop our weapons of protection, which is those things of having to be right all the time. Sometimes it's more important to be happy than to be right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Marianne, for your beautiful comment too. Each of us have to be true to our own divine self. Eternal progress open to every human soul. So lovely worded. So thank you, Marianne. She's got some wisdom on her, that one. My goodness.
Yeah, I got it. I did like Jack, but I've gone off you now. Sorry, Jack.
Come on, Leeds.
It's a football term. Okay.
Okay. I don't know. I'm in America, so I don't know that one. Football is different for us. We call it soccer.
Norwich lost to Leeds recently, but good luck, Leeds. I hope you win on Sunday. I hope you go up. I really do. Because you've got our old manager, so without him, you wouldn't be there. But there you go. It's another story.
Oh, too funny. That's guy talk. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Paul, and best of luck with your project. And I know people will be listening on later too, so the more people will get to enjoy this discussion. You shared a lot of inspiration, a lot of wisdom, a lot of things that can really, help us to think and grow and expand in our awareness. So we're truly appreciative of your time here today. So we really appreciate you. Thank you, Paul.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, for being here with us today and sharing this time and space. It is quite appreciated indeed by all of you. Please remember to let love be your guide, your compass. It is you. It's in you. It's of you. Always has been. Always will be. And may all of this fun, love, joy, and expression and creativity be channeled into that love and healing for the rest of the world and beyond, so that every form of consciousness feels loved. So thank you very much. Have a beautiful weekend, everybody. It's Memorial Weekend here in the States, so a lot of people are going on barbecues and so forth and beach time. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.